Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and because on Monday I'm a keel over from finding out how much I owe the IRS. If I do, I want to end up with at least one more good show. So we've got a couple of special guests. We've got Ryan Shumaker, the Sports Information Director. We've got Zeiter from Greyhound Softball. Brandon and Ryan will do a high school spotlight. I'll finish up with an overtime. But as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound Baseball did lose all 4 games against West Texas this past weekend, but after getting 10 runs rolled in the first game, they only lost by a couple in games 2, 3, and 4. For the Greyhound Rodeo men competing at the Western Texas Rodeo this past weekend, they finished 8th. For the Greyhound women competing at the Western Texas Rodeo, they finished 8th. And a great day for Eastern track and field. At a meet at West Texas, 5 school records were set. I think they are getting ready for conference. Well, that has been the Eastern recap, so what we'll do is we'll clear the set, and I'll bring in my first guest, Ryan Shumaker, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we bring back to the set of Sportslook the Sports Information Director of Eastern New Mexico University, Ryan Shumaker. And Ryan, welcome back to Sportslook.
Doc, appreciate you having me. It's always an honor.
Ryan, talk about a steep learning curve. We mentioned, in case people missed that episode, you came here to be the assistant, and within a very short amount of time, you were the Sports Information Director.
Yeah, I would say a steep learning curve is probably a pretty good term for it. I kind of thrown into the wolves would be even better. There's just, I'm very blessed to have been able to be given the opportunity, and so far I think it's worked out really well. I've really learned a lot, and I know that being a part of ENMU and being a part of the athletic department, it truly has been an honor. And so when I think about the steep learning curve, for me, it's been just a privilege to learn under so many great people in our department and be a part of something so special. It's arguably one of the better years in ENMU athletics, and definitely in recent memory, if not of all time, and it's been really special to be a part of.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I've been here, this is my 24th year, and we've had years when a team has been good, but usually other teams are struggling. We've been consistent across the board.
Yeah, I think consistent's a good word to put it. We were doing some fact checking the other day about our record against Lone Star competition in team sports, and we actually have a record that's above 500. And for being out in Portales and some of the other disadvantages we may have compared to the other Texas schools, to be able to say that is something pretty special, and it's something that I know I take pride in being a part of, and I know our student athletes take pride in being a part in, and I think it's something that all of ENMU can take pride. It's been a fun year. There's been some great moments, and honestly, there's still some more to come. Baseball, softball are still going. Outdoor track and field had a phenomenal weekend this weekend at WT, and so it's not done yet, but it's been a great ride so far.
Ryan, to a certain extent, your background really prepared you for Eastern, even though the sports may not have been the same at Northwest Oklahoma. Kind of the environment a little bit the same.
Right. You could make a lot of similarities between Alva, Oklahoma and Portales, New Mexico, but I will say this. I will take Portales, New Mexico any day over Alva, Oklahoma. I was a part of some great things at Northwestern, and I know a lot of great people, and it's a great community, but I really can't stress how much I have enjoyed being a part of ENMU athletics and being a part of Portales. And even though there's a lot of similarities, like you said, there's still a lot of differences, and a lot of positive differences here that I see on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, it's funny how all of your experiences, even though I've had such a short career, I feel like all of your experiences kind of come back to you on a day-to-day basis whenever you make decisions. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things at Northwestern that prepared me for this opportunity and what I'm doing now. And I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm just blessed to be a part of it. I never would have expected that it would have happened so fast, and it would have gone so well.
When you were at Northwest Oklahoma, you were kind of the sorcerer's apprentice. You were working on learning, and then
Yes.
you came in to be the assistant. Then you had to become the sports information director, and you had to supervise people. What really helped to prepare you to supervise as many people as you do as a sports information director?
I think it's a lot of things, Doc, and somebody asked me a similar question the other day, and it was hard for me to answer. It's like, wow, I mean, I've never really thought about that, but first and foremost, I think my parents. I consider both of them great leaders, and both people that I look up to and have idolized ever since I was a little kid. And so I've picked up things from them, and so I think number one is my parents. Number two, the people that I met at Northwestern and the opportunities I was given, even though I really wasn't qualified. Just once again, kind of being thrown into the wolves, I guess you could say. But having the opportunity to learn so quickly there really allowed me to develop my leadership skills a lot quicker because I kind of really had to. And then number three is Dr. Wagner. I credit a lot of what I've been able to do this year and to him. He really is a special leader and a special person, and he's meant a lot to me in the short time that I've worked under him, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level. And I think a lot of I'm not going to say all, but I think a lot of the accomplishments that have happened this year can be directly attributed to him and his leadership and his experience in the realm of collegiate athletics. And he's one of the main reasons I came to work here, and to get to work and learn from him has been something truly special. And it's taught me so much about collegiate athletics, about leadership, about management, about so many different things, and I credit a lot of that to him.
One thing that's kind of interesting from my perspective is that you're coming in, you're the authority figure, but you inherited a pretty seasoned group of students at Eastern that kind of knew a little bit and probably have helped you out a great deal.
Absolutely. It's funny that whenever I started to find out that I was going to be moved into this position, that was one of the first things I thought about was, oh man, some of these student workers are right around my age. How are they going to respond to me? How are they going to accept me as their captain, I guess you could say? And they've done it so well, and they've been so welcoming, and they've been really so just full of respect. And for me, that's made me as a leader feel good and more confident. And there's a lot of our student workers in the sports information department that, like you said, are very seasoned and have been here. And I could not have gotten through this year without them. There is no doubt the knowledge they have and the skills they have and the willingness to learn they have has helped me since day one, and I can't thank them enough.
I had an opportunity to actually see you up close and personal. Usually you come into my broadcast booth and you check with me, or I see you at basketball, you're across the way. We actually worked together for about 5 or 6 hours on the track meet that we hosted, and I got to see you interact with your students. And I got to tell you, I'm not just saying because you're nice enough to be my guest on Sportslook, but for a person your age, you can relate to the young people working, but they know who the boss is.
Right. Thank you. And I've always kind of operated under the assumption that respect is earned, and so I always feel like I'm trying to earn their respect as much as they may be trying to earn mine, if that makes sense. I have to be as good of a leader as possible, especially with my age and experience, so that they do respect me. And that's been something that we've been working as a group throughout this year. And like I said, they're really great people, and sometimes you can't substitute in a good person. That goes a long way. When you have good people and you surround yourself with good people, it makes those things a lot easier. And so it has just made it so much better knowing that I'm surrounded by such good people.
Ryan, after a very busy weekend last weekend when we had both baseball and softball in town, in the remaining weeks during the school year, we get to have one athletic team in town per weekend.
Yes, it is going to be a blessing, Doc. It's been a pretty busy spring semester. We have baseball next weekend, against Angelo State, which is going to be a huge series. I think Angelo State, before I left here, I saw they moved up to number 3. Don't quote me on that in the national polls. So they've been really good. And then the weekend after, softball welcomes Tarleton State to town. What Coach Zeiter has done with that program is unbelievable. They've been doing a really good job, and that's also going to be their senior weekend. And then now we're going 3 weeks. I believe we have baseball senior weekend, and then we have the Lone Star Conference track and field championship. So, like you said, it's one a weekend, but there's still very important events coming up when you include senior day and then obviously the LSC championship. So, still a lot more work to do.
Back in the day, back when I was your age, if people wanted to know about sports, they pretty much had to read a newspaper or listen to a radio show. A lot of different ways that people can follow Eastern athletics. What would you recommend to people who are more tech savvy in today's day and age to follow us?
Tech savvy. I would say at ENMU Athletics on Twitter. That is where we have most of our activity. Also following ENMU Athletics on Facebook. We put all kinds of stuff on there. We do all of our releases, all of our pregame stories, all of our postgame stories, all of our highlight stories that we do, all of our just basic information about camps, we could talk for a long time about all the stuff that we put out there, but that's probably the best way to get instantaneous information. And then obviously our website, goeasternathletics.com. You could scroll through there for hours with the information. We're actually doing a website redesign right now that'll be out in mid-May, and so that's really exciting, and we're really looking forward to that. We've been working really hard on it and trying to improve that and expand on what we're able to do online for those tech-savvy people like yourself.
Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations on the upgrades that we have made to athletic communications, sports information, and I know I'll see you the next couple of weekends.
Absolutely. I can guarantee you I will see you as well.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment. So what we'll do is we'll clear the set and we'll cue up a high school spotlight courtesy of Brandon and Ryan right now.
Welcome back to High School Spotlight. I'm Ryan Schrader.
And I'm Brandon Warren.
Last weekend, we went over to Elida to catch a matchup between the Tigers and the Gateway Christian Warriors.
This game started off really close, which made for some great highlights. Let's take a look at them.
In our first play, we got Riley Arnold up to bat. He makes good contact, sending it high into left center. There's 3 guys there, but there's some miscommunication, leading to no one getting it, and the runner safely making it to second, and Arnold staying at first.
Hurley Breedick up to bat for the Warriors. Hits a low fast one to right field, takes off as it rolls out behind first plate. We got Titus Arlett coming into home for the run, and Breedick makes it to second safely.
Wyatt Arlett hits a good grounder over towards shortstop. He picks it up and forgets to check the runner at third, allowing Breedick to make it home. The throw to first was high over the fence, letting Arlett make it safely to second.
Jaden Stevens steps up to the plate with a runner on second. He pops it up into midfield. 4 players go for it, all of them miss. One of them finally picks it up and tries to get it to home before Wyatt Arlett makes it home.
Logan Victor here for Elida. He pops one up into right field and it drops. He makes it around and decides to head to second. The throw's too quick for him and he'll be thrown out by the center fielder.
The Warriors have some hitters, and now Jacob Ramos hits it right over the shortstop's head. Contemplates going to second, but decides to stay at first.
Arlett again at the plate. He lays down a high bunt. The pitcher gets to it and attempts to throw to first, but it's too low for the first baseman to grab. It gets away from him, giving Arlett an opportunity to head to second. He'll take off, showing us his speed, and he makes a slide safely in before the throw's even close.
Jaden Stevens back up to bat. Hits it between first and second, but the defense does a good job throwing him out at first and keeping the runner on third.
Hurley Breedick hits a good one towards left center. It's deep and almost over the head of the outfielder, but he manages to snag it. After tagging up, Joseph Wade decides to head home, and he'll make it in no problem beating the throw.
Wyatt Arlett in the box. It's a high pitch, but he makes contact with it, sending it deep into left field. The defense scrambling to grab it, but can't get it quickly enough, so Arlette gets the double.
Jaden Stevens at bat sends a liner out into right field. The outfielder can't get the catch, so he just picks it up and throws it in as Arlette makes it safely into home to extend the Warriors' lead.
Hayden Wigley sends a line drive past third base. It's missed and rolls into the outfield. Wigley bats in 2 RBIs with that hit and gets himself a nice triple. The final score is 12-2, with Gateway Christian taking over in the last couple innings and winning it with a nice margin.
Now let's take a look at the rankings. In 1A, Gateway Christian leads the pack with a record of 7-0, followed by Dora and Floyd, who both have a record of 3-2.
Now for 2A, Eunice at the top with a 7-1 record, followed by Texaco, Estancia, Mora, and Rehoboth Christian.
Taking a look at 3A, Santa Fe Indian is number 1 with a record of 11-3, followed by Robertson and West Las Vegas.
Now in 4A, St. Pius is at the top of the pack, followed by Goddard and Maya Mira.
And finally, looking at 5A, Cleveland and Rio Rancho still holding on to those top 2 spots, both with a record of 16-2, followed by Volcano Vista, Centennial, and Piedra Vista. Thanks for watching High School Spotlight.
Before we send you back to Doc, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates, photos, and highlights.
Once again, I'm Ryan Schrader,
And I'm Brandon Warren.
and we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Sportslook. Thanks to Brandon and Ryan for that high school spotlight. And now we bring back the head coach of Eastern New Mexico softball, Kira Zeiter. And Coach, welcome back to Sportslook.
Thank you for having me back.
Coach, since the last time we talked to you, you've played some pretty tough opponents.
We've had 3 or 4 top 10 teams in a row. So we knew it was going to be a tough part of the schedule. And I'm really proud of the team for how they've responded and really battled throughout games. They know that they're never out of the game until the last pitch.
And of course, I look at a couple of recent series. I look at you played Lubbock Christian on back-to-back Tuesdays, and the second game of the second Tuesday, you only lost to them 3-2. And playing against WT last weekend, you were tied up with him, I believe, as late as the top of the 6th inning. So you're right, your girls are battling.
They are. And so I think that says a lot about the competition we play on a weekly basis, because not only are we playing the Lone Star competition, which is historically, in my opinion, that's why I'm here. One of the main reasons I'm here is it's one of the best softball conferences in the country. And then our non-conference competition is Lubbock Christian, who is also an extremely talented team and tends to go to regionals on a regular basis. And so it's challenging for the team. It really doesn't allow you to have a day where you feel like you can just kind of breathe. You have to bring your best softball every day. But I'm proud of how they battled. Going into the 7th inning tied with a top 10 team. This last Saturday it's promising, like you said. Easily could have gone either way against Lubbock Christian.
In terms of the season, at what point did you really start to understand the character of your team? Was it evident right from the first day you walked on the field, or was there a game you could point to and say, that's where their identity really started to show?
It's a great question. I think I really started to see their identity throughout the fall, but then when it came to season, I think when we played that one day against New Mexico Highlands at the beginning of the season, and we just really had such hot bats, and it just showed us what we could do and what we're capable of when you beat a team. And I think setting records for hits and runs scored. Obviously, you walk away feeling like we have the potential to do something really strong in the conference. And I think we then took that into the top part of the season. And so we just need to find a way to be consistent even when we're playing those top teams as well, because they're definitely going to bring the bats as well, so we need to match it.
Looking at your roster, who did you think was going to be good that has been good? Who's been the most pleasant surprise for you? That's a tough question.
You do. I really try to take pride in knowing what each player can contribute. I think if I pick out a player that's really kind of stepped up as a freshman is Ileana Mendoza, center fielder, usually 3-hitter, and she's been a consistent 400-plus hitter all season. And so that's something that I knew that she is capable of that, with working with her throughout the fall. But it's nice to see her then take that into the season. She has a big job on her shoulders, and as a freshman, it's nice to see her step up to that task.
In terms of the one player that on paper you had seen the name, you thought that player would be good, who really has delivered the goods for you?
Who's delivered the goods for us?
That came back from last year.
Sure. I'm gonna pick out a player that she's just a consistent player that you're going to get quality at bats. You're going to get someone who's going to, show up on a daily basis with a positive attitude, and just, that she's going to be someone who you can turn to if you know what you're going to get. And that's consistency is huge. And that's our shortstop, Elisa Rodriguez. And someone who doesn't necessarily, you're not going to run up to the dugout and say, oh my gosh, but she brings that quality play consistently every day in, day out in all facets of the game. And it's definitely an important thing to have when that's your shortstop.
In terms of a game of softball, there are things that you have to do. You have to hit with power, you have to play defense, you have to be able to pitch, you have to be able to run the bases. If you look at those 5 categories, which of them are you grading out if this is a report card time, which category grades out the highest for Greyhound Softball?
Just going to go with the standard hitting for this season. I think we've, our stats have been pretty steady. We had one weekend I can kind of pick out where it was a struggle, but it was also against very quality, actually 2, but it was against the best pitching in the conference. And so it's one of those things where you have to battle through some of that. But besides that, it's been pretty consistent. We have a little bit of everything on our roster this year. We do have some speed, and we also have power, and we also just have, consistent gap hitters. And so that's something that we think we know what we're going to get from our players, on game day. And so I think I'll grade that as our highest at this moment.
I've been really impressed. I have not had a chance to sit down and watch a whole game of yours. I basically come out, I watch an inning or 2, and then the university calls me to other duties. But I've been really impressed with your crowds.
Thank you. Yes, me too. I think that the Portales community really supports softball, and they want to see the team do well, and they support the team, and trust me, they feel it. The softball players on our team, they really they get excited when they see big crowds out there, and when people are excited about the game and see them doing well, and they feed off that, and that energy is something that really helps them to play their best softball. And so all of us from the program are very appreciative of the Portales community, who I think out of the places I've been a head coach, this is by far the most supportive softball community of anywhere I've been.
If they're kind of hitting them upside the head right now and saying, I knew there was something I wanted to do, I wanted to come out and watch softball, they're going to have one more opportunity to do so.
They are. This weekend we'll be on the road at Western New Mexico, but then the following weekend we're here for senior weekend versus Tarleton.
And how many seniors will you graduate?
We have 5 seniors that it's going to be an emotional day. They're a big part of our team, and we're very thankful for that they've had the opportunity to really grow as people in our program, and we'll get to spend that. It would be a Thursday-Friday series, so that Friday celebrating the 5 seniors.
Okay, well, this is good to know. I'm glad we brought you on Sportslook, because I was just kind of assuming the traditional Friday, Saturday. With the softball team, there are a couple of different ways that you can approach recruiting. One is, I got to go out and I got to get a shortstop. I got to go out and get a left fielder. The other one is, I'm just going to look for the best players and I'm going to recruit them. If you had to say your recruiting philosophy is leaning one way or another, which way do you tend to go with recruiting?
Especially in this world of college softball, it's important to how they are as people, how they are as teammates, because that team camaraderie can be really beneficial when you're struggling as a team or you're facing really top quality competition. Then that can really help you to be successful on game day. And we just, with recruiting, our conference is an offensive conference. So definitely something that's important to, to our success in our conference is being able to compete on that level with our hitting.
Since you were nice enough to come in and be my guest, I'm going to give you a chance to talk a little bit about your program. I know a lot of coaches in the off season will do like a camp. They'll do like an individual camp. Any plans for that, or are you just kind of taking your first year and then maybe the second year you'll think about doing that?
Yes, it's going to be a busy summer. We'll do an individual camp, most definitely. I haven't set the date yet, but I know that we will be. And then there's just going to be a lot of recruiting, going and watching tournaments. And so it's going to be a very busy summer, but something that, it'll be nice to be here for a full summer and really get a lot of that stuff going.
Well, Kira, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed watching your team, albeit in brief increments, and best of luck the last 3 weekend series of the season.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sportslook. So what we'll do is we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Congratulations to Mark Fox. Earlier this week, he was named the head men's basketball coach at the University of California, Berkeley. And at this point, some of you are saying, Doc, that's pretty lame. Last week, you talked about a guy that became a head coach. Don't you have anything interesting to talk about? Hey, this is going to be way interesting because Mark Fox, a graduate of Eastern New Mexico University, and he played basketball for the Hounds. So now, along with Dana Altman, we've got 2 graduates of Eastern New Mexico University that are Division I men's basketball coaches. That's pretty cool. Well, that is going to wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sports Look. I'd like to thank my guest, Ryan Shumaker, the Sports Information Director from Eastern, and Kira Zeiter, the head softball coach. I'd like to thank Brandon and Ryan for the high school spotlight. I had Dion and Dijon as my Sports Look crew directors this week. So for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.
Kane is in the building, nigga.